that's more than enough.
It is.
You're very attractive. So it's like, it's
It
really...
sounds really nice when you're 46. People don't realize it. That closer you get to 50, you're like,
I know a guy, he's Asian, but he's...
Oh, guys don't matter. Guys always mature. And
it's usually, and I mean, something we'll probably talk about, it's usually the confidence, less the looks.
Yeah.
I do take into consideration what someone looks like. I don't really care if they have like a really nice personality.
I agree. It makes them more attractive. Yeah, I agree with that.
Because I mean, I would like, if I was talking to someone and she was like, she's absolutely beautiful but dumb as a rock, I can't. It's like,
it's a combination.
Yeah. I don't have an introduction or anything. So, I did want to say beforehand that everything we talked about here has nothing to do with what Mersedeh does in her professional stuff.
What do you mean?
Like therapy stuff, like you're not talking about any of your clients or anything.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, this is not to be construed as medical advice. So, just the internet does the internet stuff. This does not also mean that she's representing you as a client or anything.
Have you started already?
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know what the internet's going to do. So I have to make sure everything's like, here's some contingencies.
No, it's good to put it out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I guess just start out with a simple one. What is cognitive behavioral therapy?
Obviously, I'm a therapist. That's why I'm sitting here with you. Cognitive behavioral therapy is just a form of therapy. Most therapists, if not all, we're supposed to all have a theoretical orientation, a way we approach it. I like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, because it has you do a mix. It increases your awareness. It has you think back to things that have happened in your life. And because of those, we tend to look at the world in a certain way, right? So it just has you go back to get back to, in my opinion, to get better understanding of how come you react to things the way that you do. And then obviously that impacts your behavior, right? And so we learn about things in the past and sometimes how when a situation happens, we're not actually reacting to the situation right then completely. We're reacting to that situation with all the past experiences kind of come up. And then we make this, and then that puts us in a mood. And then based on our mood, then we make a decision. And so a lot of times people bring back negative memories or negative feelings, and then they don't really give themselves the full potential to just respond to that current situation. They think about themselves as things that happened in the past and who they were in the past and don't really acknowledge who they are today.
Is it mostly tied to the amygdala, or is it also like more of like the nervous system?
I think it's a combination. Yeah, I don't really believe in all or nothings. So when people ask me like, is it this or is it that? I'm like, I mean, I think it's a lot of factors in life, and whether it's therapy, whatever it is, if you want to, and I think that's as human beings, we want clarity. Like we want to know, is that the exact thing? But it's rarely that. It usually is a combination of things.
Because I'm thinking from like the fight, flight, or freeze response. Like if you're in that sort of situation where you're not sure what to do, but you try to act more on like an impulsive thought rather than like a more like prefrontal cortex thought.
Yes, but even the prefrontal cortex, like it all plays a part with each other, right? But when you start to think negative or in fight or flight, certain areas of your brain or the way they function, they maybe don't contribute as much because they've been worn down, especially with anxiety, right? So we get into that fight or flight because we've used our amygdala way too much, right? It's like sensitive now. So we start to look at the world. That's where your senses come in. We start to look at the world as a more dangerous place because we're constantly worrying. So we're trying to pick out like what's going to go wrong because we want control. So we kind of try to fix everything before it even happens, but that's what anxiety does anyway.
Yeah. And how would you define anxiety?
Feeling nervous, feeling a sense of doom, things are going to go wrong.
Okay.
That's different than general worry, right?
Okay.
So anxiety, and I say this all the time, anxiety is not bad. Anxiety, like, gives you an idea that you care about something. You could be graduating, you could be getting married, you could be having a baby.
Yeah.
All great things in life, but are you going to be nervous? Yes. But anxiety in the negative way, it causes you to, it's almost debilitating. Okay. You freeze, you don't, like you said, fight or flight.
Yeah.
Freeze, another one is appease, right? So you get,
okay.
Fight, flight, freeze, and appease. And appease is pretty much when there's negative, you're like, yes, I'll just do whatever. Yep, just let me make it go away, right? So you're very agreeable. And a lot of times people that have anxiety, They also are people pleasers. So they say yes to things that they might not want to do, but the fear of letting someone down or them getting in a confrontation, they end up just saying, yes, just make it stop. I'll do it. And then they figure it out later.
Fight, freeze,
flight,
and free, and appease. Appease, is that more of a passiveness? Like here's a situation. I just want to keep going through it, not really address the problem, but just.
I don't know that they want to keep going through it. They want to get out of it. So it's like, I'm sorry. How many times have you been in an argument? Maybe if you think back to when you were a kid, right? Or in teacher, anybody that has, some kind of power, then they're saying something to you and you could not agree. I mean, you might not agree and you're like, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. And obviously, like, what are you sorry for? Because if you really don't know, you're not processing. You just want it to stop, right? So that's just not going through it. It's just stopping.
Okay, so it's more like a psychological defense.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's what we're meant to do, right? We're meant to kind of protect ourselves, and that's it. That's what psychology is. It teaches you, or therapy, I think. People come to therapy and they think, well, a lot of people think that if you come to therapy, something's wrong. Yes, it usually is, but that's a situation. I mean, you can learn, you can fix that situation. So we talked about CBT, right? Solution focus is there's a problem, let's fix it. That's definitely a theoretical orientation, right? So we don't want to do that because that's a quick fix. That's going to immediately get things done. But if you come to therapy and you come in with a situation, then you start talking and you have a rapport with your therapist and it's like your safe place, then you just start talking. I can't tell you how many of my clients are like, oh, now that I'm hearing myself say that, or, oh, I didn't realize I do that more often, right? So it helps you kind of change your behavior, which if you want, it helps you be like, well, it's this. And then you take that approach and that awareness and you apply it throughout your life, like whether it's your relationship, your work, health, whatever it is, family, friendship, any of that.
So there's like situational problems or situations that people go into. And then the one level above that kind of solve that could be applied to multiple situations, like a mindset.
Oh yeah, mindset is everything.
Okay, so like your job as a therapist is to change, or to help people identify their mindset.
Ooh, I like how you call it yourself. My job isn't to change anything. My job is to help people explore what they want to change. And I think that's how come a fit for a therapist is important, because some people come in and they're like, just tell me what I need to do, right? And then that's not a good fit because I'm like, I won't do that. Because if I tell you what to do and then you go do it and it doesn't work, guess who you don't like? And guess what you say doesn't work? Therapy. So it's not really to change their mindset. It's to help them understand how come they're not doing what they want to do. Because some people do what they should do. And should is one of these like faulty thinkings that we develop. What they should do versus what they want to do. And that ties into confidence.
There's one quote from Dale Carnegie, I forgot what it was, something along the lines of you don't want to tell someone to do, but you want to help them, you want to make it seem like it was their idea.
Well, yes. I mean, when you say it like that.
More of like the ownership of aspect.
Absolutely.
Like this is not, hey, here's how to do it. It's more of, this is something you already have. Here's just like, let's go in this direction.
Right. But that's the thing is that when you tell people, let's go in this direction, some people want to go in that direction. But if you kind of get them to understand that they have choices, like I can go this direction and this is what I'm hoping to get out of it, not what can happen, because then we're fortune telling, right? We're trying to see. But if I go in this direction, I'm going to go in this direction for a purpose of getting this, right? If I go in this direction, it's going to be this. But if someone says, I want to be happy, right? My happy and your happy can be two totally different things. So if I tell you what to do to be happy, from my perspective, you might not be happy because you're like, I don't want to, do that.
What your happiness is and what my happiness are two different things.
Absolutely. So you get people to really talk and understand. And that's the other thing, the power of therapy is there's no judgment. Really, like that's what it's supposed to be, your safe place, right? Like there's no judgment. I tell my clients all the time, like leave your representative at the door, like in the waiting room, which is the person that we try to be politically correct and like appropriate and, have it together. And they come in here and then it's like, I try not to say why to someone, like, well, why did you do that? I usually say like, how did that make sense to you then? Or what were you hoping to get out of it? Because then that like triggers them to start talking. And then they get an understanding of like, okay, that wasn't stupid what I did. I mean, at that time, I thought this was going to happen, right? And it's not looking at a mistake. I mean, obviously, there are some things that we see as mistakes, but it's like, okay, we can't change that. But now that I learned if I do this, this is what's going to happen, then would I go back and change something so that I get a different outcome?
There's one thing, I haven't looked into it deeply, but the Michelangelo effect.
Tell me.
Where people will try to, like, especially like early on in like either romantic relationships or relationships in general, they try to bring out the best out of someone. And like you want to surround yourself with the five closest people around you, define who you are. Also tied into like the law of attraction, what you focus on is what you attract. If you're focusing on evil, or if you're focusing on all the bad things that happen, you don't focus on the good stuff. But also there could be the other side to it, which is like you're obsessively trying to find the best when you're trying to find the best in a trash bin.
But
it's
you look at that and you see when you're focused on something, especially in relationships, right? If you don't have self-awareness and you think, whether it's like appearance, I think we're talking about that, you think like, oh, I want someone that looks a certain way. Well, yeah, it might be attractive. You might like be happy in the moment. Romantic wise, you might be very happy. But then when that's over and you're just sitting in a room with someone or you're at dinner with someone and you don't have any kind of good conversation, or you start talking and your beliefs are different than someone else, that's really not the relationship you want to be in, right? So it's then you go back and you're like, some people will stay in it and they're not happy because they want to be in a relationship. And some people will go back and be like, this is not what I thought. And breaking up or separating or parting ways or just being friends is not an easy thing for people to do.
Yeah. And I guess that's just tied into high expectations, expecting a certain outcome and not getting it. And now you're disappointed with that because you thought it was something else, but not everything's like a fairy tale.
Yeah.
Or not fairy tale, as in like nothing's pre-written.
Right. But that's the thing, is working hard, right? Or challenging yourself or going for what you want. If it was just a straight path, then how boring would life be? I mean, most people would want that. But then the other thing is, then you'd want something else and you'd want something else. You're not really ever fulfilling one thing. But if you sit down and you start to think about what a meaningful relationship is, what are the things that make you happy, finding someone that has maybe similarities, as far as goals, like what do they want finance-wise, right? What do they want health-wise? You have somebody that's into fitness and wants to go on walks, and you have somebody who wants to sleep in and, get up and go to breakfast the first thing they do. I mean, eventually in the beginning, it's new, so you're going to adjust, right? But then after a while, you're going to get, most people might get irritated. I would get irritated. I'd be like, well, I got to go on a walk by myself. What's the point of being in a relationship? Or I got to go and run for myself.
That's something I've, like, within the last 2 weeks, I kind of realized that I like doing, which is try to make sure everything feels like novelty. So there's a lot of, like, I'm still 21. Like, I haven't had a lot to go through, but there's like a lot of people that I know that, who've helped me a lot in everything I do, whether they've been on the podcast or like jujitsu, like whatever it may be. Like, they've done more, and I realized looking back that if I hadn't met them, I would be in a different direction. Whether it's positive or negative, I'm not sure, but I like the life that I'm living now. Right. So it's sort of the beauty of trying to make sure that every time I see them, every time they say something to me, every time we're talking, it's like try to have the mindset that this is a new conversation. That not in a way that like forgetting about everything else we've talked about, but like this is new information. This is a new person I'm talking to, and they may be they may be emotionally stressed. They may be really, really tired. They may be having the time of their life right now, but it's like be flexible to whatever state of mind that they're currently in. Okay. And I guess kind of like have the emotional flexibility.
Okay. So I guess what I heard of that, so you meet people and then you see how they contributed to you kind of feeling the way, being happy with where you're at, right? And so you develop a relationship with them, but you see them in a good way. So then you turn around and you invest in that and reciprocate to try to pay attention to like how they're feeling and listen and talk to them, right? But what happens when you meet somebody and it's not a good interaction?
The same person, not a good interaction?
No, a different person. Yeah, I just want to know, like, what happens if you meet somebody and they don't really contribute to where, I mean, if you think it's a bad situation.
Small context to answer your question. 16, the 16 personality test. So my thing came out to be ENTJ, with most of them being like 60-40, judgment being 70-30. I am very quick to judge people on first interactions. I did sales for a little bit, so it's like you need to understand whether or not someone wants to be a customer within the first 10 seconds.
Do you think that's true? Okay.
Oh, yeah. So I know one guy, and I hope when he's coming back through from New York that I can get him on here. He's been doing piano sales since he's 75. He's been doing sales forever. One cool thing about him is that he thrives on stress. Like he says he survives on it. Like he will do he's 75 and he still has like the energy of a 35-year-old. And it's like, he's a wonderful guy to know. He's brutal, but he's also kind, and he is getting senile now, but he's still a great guy to know. So when I meet someone who's not exactly the kindest person in the world, that's when I'll judge them by their appearance. That's the first thing I would do. I'll look at how they look, how they hold themselves, their composure, kinds of clothes they're wearing. Because I know some people, they'll have like ragged shirts and everything, but they'll have like the best personality in the world. So it's like, what part of you can I at least kind of cling on to? Like, what part of you do I like?
What if you don't find any part of them that you can cling on to?
Then most likely I'll just not worry about it right now. I'll just be like, okay, maybe later. I always, whether it's good or bad, I always leave like a door open. So if the person if I see something better in their life, because everyone goes through like their dark times. Someone goes through like, hey, I really need to get all this stuff done. I'm not emotionally available for anyone. I understand that. There's maybe less than 5 people in the world that I'm like, I will never want to talk to them. And that's considering like then probably over 300 people that I would want to talk to, and then maybe a lot more that I don't see regularly, but when I do, it's like, hey, I remember you. It's been a long time.
Okay. So they left a good impression on you, and you're excited to see them, right? I mean, I think part of it is just, I believe, honestly, with just doing therapy and cognitive behavioral therapy, you can't control other people and you can't control life, right?
But I can't control me.
Exactly. So you said, you judge people like, in the first, what did you say, 10 seconds? You can see if you're saying...
if I'm walking by 10 seconds, if I'm talking to them at least a minute.
Okay. So if you meet somebody, right, and imagine taking a lot, I'm not going to say I don't believe in all or nothing, so you say take judgment out, right? But imagine you meet somebody, right, and you come to strike up a conversation with them, and then they kind of give you a smirk, a smile, and then you're talking, and they're like, "Hi, it's nice to meet you. I got to, my head hurts. I'm in a rush. I'm this. I got to go, but have a good day." What would you take from that?
I would take it as it is.
Okay. So then when you see them, so you would, when you say take it as is, you would respect it, right? Okay. So then when you see them again, because it ended that way, what would you be likely to do?
Most likely, I wouldn't have remembered it.
You think so?
The beginning and the end of a conversation, I usually don't remember, but the actual substance, I'll
that's
remember.
Interesting.
So another thing is what I do is when I don't know someone very well, I'll subconsciously judge them, but I won't like push it on them. I won't like project my judgment onto them. I'm still open to, oh, you might have this good with you. But the people I've known I know a lot from like they've told me a lot about their history, whether it's good or bad. I know their context. I know their I've talked to them. They've been for the most part, like the more emotionally vulnerable someone's with me, the less I judge them. So there's maybe 3-4 people. Obviously, my parents I can't judge because there's no way I would know everything they've gone through. But there's maybe less than 10 people who I'm like on a no judgment zone with. From if they start talking to me, if they're going through something rough, if they if they snap at me or something, I don't judge them for that. I'll internalize it a little bit, but I'll just let it go.
Really? You wouldn't, if they snap at you and you didn't do anything, you wouldn't be like, not sure what kind of day you're having, but like, whoa, maybe we can talk later, or like...
That would be judgment.
Really?
You know how people have 3 faces, the public self, the private self, and their core self? And the core self is the one they don't show to anyone. Private self is the one they show to close people. And then the public one is like, hey, I'm a good person. So the core self, that I perceive that as a core self. And so I just took that as like, that's how he goes through life. And I'm glad he's being honest with me about that, because most people would be offended by that. I would be like, that's how, like, I treat myself terribly. Like, I'm drinking caffeine right now. I know it's like, it's not the best thing in the world, but.
Okay. But see, I think if you have, and I mean, again, I think you said earlier, you know, you surround yourself with people that support you. Most people try to, right? So it's important. Well, I don't know that most people try to support it, but to surround themselves with people they want. I think it's important to learn who you support, who you surround yourself with. But if you're just having maybe not frequent interaction with that person, if you're not having frequent interaction with that person, then it might be easier to roll. I'm wondering, would it be easier just to let it roll off because you're like, oh, he's being honest, right? What if this is somebody that you see more often and you have a closer relationship, and then when they're stressed, they snap at you each time that they're stressed?
Every time they stress. That situation, you mean like every time I talk to them, they always act the same way?
When it's tension, I mean, everyone is, said no one, everyone, that's absolute, right? But people are human, right? So I think it's one thing when you're like, it's isolated, it's not his character, he was just under tension or stress. But if he responds to tension and stress that way, then, and in life there is stress. Stress isn't always bad, and there's stress, and person tends to respond that way more often. Maybe you don't see him in stressful situations, or in interactions and friendships, maybe there's not a lot of responsibility or obligation. It's just like, hey, right? But at the end of the day, if you have more interaction throughout the day and you're around when life happens, then I think that would kind of hurt someone's feelings, versus if and maybe in that situation it was like, hey, not right now, like, let's pause it. But if not, to come back and circle around the next day and be like, hey, I realized like it was just like really tense at that moment. I didn't mean to be like, not right now. Like in that way, I was just stressed. Like, and I felt like I couldn't take on a laughter or whatever. I would say that would be like, oh, okay, I can put that behind me.
Okay. But if they don't, you would always remember that.
I don't know that I would always remember that, but this is where you go with memory, right? So the next time, I don't know if it was me, the next time they're stressed, I would be like, you know what? I'm going to go over there, or I'm going to give them a space. I'm not going to try to break that tension unless he comes to me and says, hey, like, I'm stressed, and asks for help, or like, hey, say something funny, right? Say something funny. I just need to laugh right now, and asks me to break that stress. So I don't know. I think coming back and closing, so we can't ever forget. I don't think you can really ever forget stuff. You can suppress stuff, but you can't forget stuff. But if you really try to close things that happen more often, daily, the next day, right? Like you don't let things carry over, then it is what you said earlier. Every time when you run into them again, it's a new day. It's a new day. But if you keep things open, think about, and I say this all the time in therapy, think about a jar, right? So just an empty jar, right? Say you first meet somebody, you don't have any experiences with them, the jar is empty. But think about an empty jar, negative stuff, because people don't want to address.
Yeah, everyone has
negative.
emotional baggage.
Yeah. So you put it in there, and each time you're like, it's not that big of a deal, right? And then the next time, it's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal. Your jar's still filling up. And if it's more interactions, and this is what I'm saying, more interactions with negative, eventually that jar is going to fill up, right? And then when that jar fills up, it could be something small, right? And then all of a sudden you're like, I don't have time for this. And you snap, right? And the other person's like, what's wrong with you? Or what's going on with you? And then coming in, right? All of that stuff, a lot of that stuff is rushing back. And a lot of times that's when people are like, how could you not know? Or like, So I just think that people can move through life just saying, I'm going to let it go. I'm not going to. But really, I think it catches up with people. And that's how they end up in therapy. They come for a situation, but it's not really all that situation. It's multiple situations that just have happened. And that's the icebreaker.
Okay. I have 3 things I want to say, and then I have a question to follow all that.
Okay.
So you were saying like the jar analogy. I think of it more like a balloon analogy, where where everyone has multiple different balloons, and sometimes they have to give it to, or they give it to you. Like the balloon could be stress, it could be anger, it could be fear. They give you that balloon, but there's no reason why. Like once I get that balloon, I can't just let it go, and just let it float off and go wherever it wants to go. So I don't see it, like for me, I don't see it as a jar. I see it more as like balloons that can be let go.
But what if you don't want the balloon? Well, you said you had 3 things, so I'm going to wait till you see your 3 things.
I'll quickly answer that. If I don't want the balloon, I can't control how other people react, but I can't control how I react.
So what would you do? You don't want the balloon.
The balloon was more of, they need to get something off their chest. I'll take it. That's fine with me, but I'll let it go. Like I can't, like if someone gives me something, I can't just say no, especially if it's something emotional, just because I'm more, like I'm 60-40 logical, 60% logical, 40% emotional, but I focus on my emotions so much so I don't have to worry about those. So I can focus on optimizing my logical side. Second thing was, do you see how, or there's this one thing on YouTube that women kind of think in spider webs, whereas men kind of think in like compartmentalized boxes, sort of way. So, which would make sense for the jar thing that you were talking about, where when someone adds something, it's almost like expanding the spider web. Or like how women have like multiple tabs open in their mind. Like there's no way a woman can look at a wall and just think about the wall. They're always thinking about something else. There's always these connections. There's always these different things that are going off of. So I was thinking, would you agree that it's like kind of like a spider web or open tabs? Like when someone brings in another thing, it's like another tab that's open and you're like, why is this tab open?
I do know there's all this.
Oh, it's an oversimplification.
Yeah, like we know women. I think it has more to do with personality.
Personalities, okay.
Right? Like you can, so just in general, you said, you were like, if someone gives you the balloon, I'll just take it and I'll let it go. If someone gives me a balloon and I'm like, what is this? Like, what am I going to do with this?
What's the purpose of it? Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm not going to take the balloon and let it go. You let it go. Like, it's not my balloon. So I think it just really, but it's taken me, and I'll say it's taken me years, like, of understanding myself and growing to be like, yes, I probably was definitely at your age, because I'm not 21, definitely at your age would have taken the balloon and could have let it go. But now I'm like, I got my own balloons. I don't want to take your balloon. Like, you take your own balloon. Or and then they get mad, I'm like, that's what therapy's for, right? That's why my cards say, keep calm and talk, or something like remain calm, talk and therapy. It's like, yeah, that's not the place for this. I'm your friend, or I'm your this, I'm your that. I'm not your emotional holder. So yes, in general, I do see, if someone compartmentalizes, those compartments still get full.
So what I was going with the compartments is that it's like boxes in a room. Like if the room was my mind, and like I'm always like breaking down walls, building another part, and like expanding my ability to manage stuff. All these boxes, like this is like, oh, this is your box. Here's something else. I'm going to throw that into a different room that's not mine. And I'm going to forget about it because it's not defining who you are. It's just part of who you are. I'm not going to forget it, but I'll just remember, hey, if this happens again, I can manage it better.
Right. So you do remember. So I think compartmentalizing, you're going to put it in boxes, but you're still going to, I think it's the same thing, different directions. So a spider web is going to grow bigger and bigger, right? Wider or bigger. Compartmentalizing, those compartments are going to get full, so you're going to get more boxes and more boxes.
But so the way I was thinking of a spider web is like the spider web is the mind, whereas the boxes are not, they don't define who I am.
Well, aren't the boxes a mind too? They're part of your brain.
I don't absorb, like the boxes is separate from the floor.
What are they standing on? What are they sitting on?
So the boxes, so it's just like a regular cardboard file box, but the box is different from the floor, and the floor is a part of my house in a way, like the way I see.
How does where does the box exist? It's gravity. You have to put it on a floor. A bookshelf is going to take space on the floor.
That's assuming there's gravity. I have boxes on this floor, I have it on the walls, I have it above on the ceilings.
So isn't that like a spider web it's just floating out there?
But it's separate. The spider web, everything's connected. Like you can go from this part of the spider web over here and there's a path to get there.
So here's the thing. What happens when all your boxes are here, 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 and they keep multiplying and then you run out of room?
I can't.
How?
Because I'm as I get more stuff, obviously my memory is going to start forgetting a lot of different things, especially people I haven't seen in a long time.
It suppresses. My thing is you suppress it.
So
I don't think you forget it.
It's not necessarily suppression, because if it's suppression, then there's an emotional burden on that, right?
No, suppression. I mean, I think you push it down. But again, if you're holding it in a box, there is some, because if you're holding it, if it's not in a box, you throw it in the trash.
Is it suppression or compression? Because I think I'm thinking about them together, that suppressing something is also compressing it.
Yeah.
That
so
it could
you're
also
putting
bounce
it,
back faster.
Absolutely. So you're putting it, like you're burying it away. That's where the jar, that's your box, right? But if it's not something you're holding on to, if you're truly letting it go, then how come it ends up in a box and not the trash? And how come you're going to move that box into another room versus open the box, go through this stuff, toss the ones you don't want, and make more room in the box that you do have instead of getting another box? Because if you do that, your room, really your brain, your room never doesn't get, it's less likely that it's going to get filled up.
I think it's partially to train my mind so that consciously I'm not worried about it. Subconsciously, I still know they're human.
How come you have to remind yourself they're human? You know they're human.
I know they're human, but I have to have the evidence to back it up.
How come?
Because whenever I give someone a compliment, like if I say that they're beautiful or they have a great personality, or if I think that they're really good at a certain thing, and I'm like, you're a wonderful human being. If they ever ask me why, I have to have a reason. I have to have at least 3 reasons, and something that's in-depth enough that's like, hey, here's something that happened, but in all the context and what I felt about it, but here's why it doesn't, this is why I love you more.
Interesting.
This is why I can appreciate you more.
So again, that would kind of go back to me that if it's more of the positive, right? You're compartmentalizing your box is not really going to get full, right? And then it's easier if you say like, I love you, or, and someone says, why? The positive, I've done therapy for somewhere between 17 and 19 years. I'm not quite sure, so don't,
We're going to quote that.
Yes, don't quote that. People don't have a problem remembering good things, right? People have, or putting out good things. People have issues with negative things, right? They don't want to say put out negative things because, again, somebody's going to get upset. Somebody's going to feel some kind of way. It might cause some tension or something, right? So if somebody says, you ask me if I say I love somebody and they're like, oh, why do you love me? Oh, because we can do this together and you make me laugh and you do this and you do this, because I'm connecting it to things that are me. You listen to me, you support me, you do this, right? I don't have to dig deep. Now, if I really don't love that person and I'm just trying to say it to make them feel better and they're like, why? I'm like,
Then how would you define love?
Oh, I think that is like...
Again, not absolutes or anything, but just like what's your personal definition of love?
A deep emotional feeling, unconditional support for someone, and a feeling of completeness.
For that person?
For that person.
For that person or for you with that person?
Obviously, if I love somebody and they're part of my life, then it's me and them, right? But for them, and this is what I tell people, when they're separating from someone, like a divorce or a breakup, if you really love someone and they're sitting there telling you they're not happy, then what would be the purpose of, if you really love them and it's unconditional, instead saying, no, you can't leave or it can't be over, versus this sucks for me, like I'm sad, I'm this. But if you're not happy, then I'm not going to hold you back. And I think it's not an easy place to be. I'm going to say that. But I think that's how come breakups, divorces have to be, or end up being negative things.
So I see love as acceptance.
Yes, I
Yes,
think that's true
unconditional
too.
support and everything, but unconditional support is because I accept them for who they are, not for who they've been, not who they want to be, but who they are right now. And then another thing is that happiness for me is also peace. If I'm peaceful, then I'm happy. If I'm happy, then I have to be peaceful. And if like for me, they're one and the same. Some people, they have separate, like, oh, peace and happiness are two different things. I have them. If I'm at peace, then I'm happy. If I'm not at peace, I'm not happy.
So I think that works for you. I don't know how many people listening, right, or me would even say peace is happiness. Peace can, and again, I think use your senses, right? I'm big on that. Your sight, your touch, your sound, your smell, and your taste, right? So peace can look different. It could be, or happiness, I'm sorry, can look different. I tell people, like, what would you be doing when you're happy? Like, what would you look like? How would you be dressed? Where would you be going? Like, create a visual to it. How would you feel? Like, again, it's like, where would you be walking? What would you be wearing? What would you be physically touching, hugging, right? But peace, I would ask you, what does peace look like? What does peace sound like? And what does peace feel like?
Then 2 questions before I answer that. How would you define happiness, and do you have a separation between emotions and feelings?
Happiness, I think, is, in general, I think it's being more positive than negative, feeling good, whatever that is, laughter, smile, not anger, right? Not the negative, and that's why I said positive. It's like happiness is, what would I look like when I'm happy? So me, I'm smiling, I'm bubbly, I'm talkative, I'm conversing. I'm probably doing activities like I'm exercising, I'm shopping, I'm somewhere near water, that I can say if it's majority of that stuff, I'm happy.
It's adding value to, like, the monotony of life.
Probably, yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Then how would you define feelings?
Those are how you react to things, what you hold on to.
And then emotions?
Those are about the same. I mean, I don't know.
Okay, they're synonyms.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
to a certain degree, yeah.
Okay, so both actionable things.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they work together.
Yeah, so for me, emotions are the initial response.
Okay.
And then feelings are my interpretation of that based on the circumstance. So if let's say I'm in jiu-jitsu and someone's on top of me and I feel like I'm like everything's closing in and like I'm getting panic, the fear would be the emotions, and then the panicking would be the feeling because of the situation. Okay. But because I've done it enough times, I don't panic. I'm like, oh, here's what I would feel, but because I'm familiar with this and I know I'm not actually in danger, I don't have to worry about it. And then I guess turn off my amygdala part of it and just go for, how do I get out of this?
So that's your anxiety, right? The fear, like this is going to happen, or I'm, this. And then after you do it and you build your confidence, then that's that distorted thought, or that it could happen, but I've done it enough to know it's not, right? And your positive experiences are going to outweigh your negative ones, right? So I think that makes sense.
So peace for me isn't actionable. It's not something that's always around. It's just a feeling of quietude, of like, with all the noise in my head, I can kind of have a nice little flat line once in a while. I mean, that's just for me.
Well, that's what I mean. I think when you look at everyone and you don't compare, I think that's what makes life hard sometimes, is we compare ourselves to other people, or we expect other people to be like us, versus respecting their autonomy, respecting that they're unique, right? And again, in a relationship, we talked about that, is that I like them for who they are. I love them for who they are. Yes, if they're positive, if it's healthy. I'm not going to say positive, healthy. But if someone is not healthy and they're toxic and you love them,
I wouldn't. So I guess there's 2 kinds of love for me. There's like, well, maybe 3: romantic, platonic, and then spiritual. Okay. So if I can't love them romantically, if I can't love them platonically, then at least I can love them for being a child of God. And then I'm like, okay, then it's not my problem. That's God's problem. It's like, that's all right. Just go this way.
And you distance yourself, right?
I
Or you limit yourself to them.
don't think about it. I don't waste my time on them.
What if they're like, you have interaction with them?
It's almost like, how many times a day do you think about how far Texas is from here?
I mean, not a lot, because I'm not going to drive to Texas.
If I'm not going to interact with them, I don't have to think about the distance or anything. I'm just like, oh, I'm 2 feet away from them. I'm 20 feet away from them. They're not I'm not like, if I'm going from here to California, I'm not thinking how far am I away from Texas. I'm focusing on where I'm going.
See, I feel like you're looking at it as controllable. You can control how far you are from them, but you can't control them in life, right? So what if you're at work and you're working with someone and they're in the cubby next to you?
Oh, I would get my shotgun and probably blow their brains.
He would not do that.
For the most part, if they were if you mean someone who's constantly in your life without you wanting them to be.
I mean, to some degree, aren't multiple people, like, think about kids that go to school, their teacher, right? They think they're toxic. They can't get away from their teacher. So it's really how you react to them, because you're going to think about coworkers. I mean, if you have a job where you can't selectively choose, right, who you're going to work with, or your boss, or how do you distance yourself then? Because life is giving you this box to be in.
I can say that from the perspective of where I'm currently helping out at, which is I don't want to mention the name or anything, but
we don't do that here.
It's a company. It's a small business, maybe 10 people tops. Variety of people, politically, emotionally, in the paths in life, but in general, you got everyone from people who should be retired to people who are right out of college to people who never went through college, probably should have. And then you got everyone. You got one who has like 3 kids and a wife, and he's really good. The nice thing is I'm not an employee there. I'm just a contractor, so I don't have to worry about oh no, you're an employee here. Right. And also it is a small business, so there's also there's not an HR department, which if there was an HR department, there would be at least 3 lawsuits before my first paycheck.
There you go.
Absolutely. But I'd just be myself. And every single person, there's one guy who's somewhat new, and I would put him as more of the emotional type, more emotionally involved and reacts emotionally than logically. He was kind of when I first met him, the second I saw him, I was like, you are emotional. I didn't talk to him. I just looked at him and I was like, that's an emotional person. And I know I could say the wrong thing, he would be going emotional tangent. And I was right.
And I wonder though, in that mind, were you like, I'm not going to go near him?
It was more of I just ignored him.
Yes, I'm not going to go near him. I don't see him. I'm going to put my glasses on.
But now, and then there was one point where me, another guy, and him were all crammed in the same cabby for a U-Haul truck. And then I just started being myself. And he liked it. And the other guy liked it. And it's we had a great time. And
he wasn't emotional when you were yourself?
No.
He didn't turn around and be like, shut up? Or...
No, well, if he did, I would just laugh it off. Because I would say the stupidest things. And he would be like, that's not what you do. And I'm like, I know. And I just keep repeating and repeating it. And you can't ignore it. But I do it in a way that's I'm not trying to hurt you, but here's something funny. And if they laugh, then that's usually...
It makes you feel comfortable because you break the tension.
Yeah. So that's how, I wouldn't care about how far I am with them. I just care about being myself. Focus on what I can control.
But I wonder next time you got assigned a job, right, with them, if you'd be like, I'm gonna call out the day, or I'm gonna be like, can I go with someone else? Or would you avoid it because you broke that tension that one time? And that might have been a good experience. But this is the other thing, is do you have the energy to do that each time? Because tension, if you're like, I'm going to break the tension with laughter, right? That takes energy. So sometimes when you're at school all day, this is for kids and I feel bad for them. They're at school all day and they have 5 teachers and maybe they have one that's really good, hopefully, or 2. Not that teachers are great.
Yeah.
But I mean connection.
There's worse teachers.
Their connection. Then I don't think people realize they spend so much energy holding it together, or that at the end of the day, if they come home and they don't want to do something right away, it's okay. And people are like, well, you didn't do anything. You just went here. Or work, on the other hand, you go to work and you have a bad boss or boss you don't get along with, or coworkers that you don't get along with, and you come home and your family's expecting you to be like, oh, you're home, you don't miss us? Well, I just spent 8 hours, 6 or whatever hours dealing with things I don't want to deal with. And then I have to come home and like be happy. I can't just shut that off, right? So it takes energy. And I think that's where I see people in the room is like they continue to give energy, and they're not rejuvenated. So they don't get things back. And then they're at empty. And then they don't really want it. They start avoiding doing stuff. They are sleeping more often. They're not hanging out with people because they don't see hanging out with people as like rejuvenation. It's giving me energy, and they see it as like draining because I can't tell you how I really feel. And if I'm not in therapy and I'm not working on a solution, then it's just like that feeling of hopelessness, like I'm just stuck. So I like the laughter. I just wonder what would happen.
Are you talking about like a K through 12 specifically school?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
because I'm thinking, so K through 12, the problem is that there is a superiority difference between the kids and the teachers. I remember when I was in high school, the second you turn 18, I guess the teachers are not responsible for you anymore. So therefore, they start treating you like another human being.
In high school?
Yeah, in high school. Like 18-year-olds, the second they turn 18, or like everyone knows they turn 18, it's like, oh, like teachers are more friendly. They're more, because it's like not their responsibility in a way. So.
I mean, my daughter's going to be 18 in her senior year. That her teachers better not treat her like that because they are responsible as long as she's in that building. But okay.
I'm thinking of it more of like a responsibility thing. It's like, because I'm responsible for you, I don't want you to go home and be like, the teacher said this thing or something. Well, I mean, I don't think it matters, but like it doesn't matter to me. But when I was going through elementary, middle school, and high school, there was you can't talk out of line, otherwise you're going to get sent to the principal's office. Well, this is how I live. Like there was the life I lived at school, and there's the life I lived at home. And ever since I started doing jiu-jitsu, I realized that the life I lived at home was 20 times better than whatever the school was teaching me. Okay. So, but then like if you go into like corporate America and stuff, you have this like HR is like, hey, you can't say this certain things because it's going to offend some people. And then you have like all the political things. And I think in the end of the day, it's just if you're not where you want to be, then you shouldn't be doing the things that you've always been doing.
And I think that's the thing is some people don't know where they want to be. And that should is such a powerful word because I'll say the difference is, and I think, I mean, here's my thing is that when I was in school and because I've been very outspoken. If I was in school and they're like, you're going to go to the principal's office, I'll just walk myself down there. Like I'll say it and then I'll walk down there because like it meant something to me, right? Like it's not, especially like with bumping heads with somebody. But again, I think some people won't say it, and that's what I teach people. Definitely not to be disrespectful, right? But at least speak up for whatever it is because I see so many people that, especially kids too, that they tell me, and I'm like, that really happened? Like, how? They're like, oh, that's just the way it is. I'm like, and nobody says anything? And they're like, well, they wouldn't believe me anyway. So I think the more that you empower someone to understand their feelings to it, right? Like I said it because I was mad. I said it because I was frustrated. I said it because it was embarrassing. They embarrassed me, right? I was embarrassed. I said it because I was sad. It doesn't make it wrong or right. I mean, to some degree it does. But it's just at least I have understanding. I have context behind it versus I just said it to say it. And there's a consequence. I mean, there's going to be consequences anyway, but sometimes the consequences might be less harsh if somebody has understanding. But when you just do something and walk away or you do something and you don't speak up, that's a different story.
Yeah, there's two quotes that came to my mind. Confidence is created through evidence, and you to be so good that the rules don't apply to you.
You're so logical.
No. So where I was going with this is that feeling of, primarily it's just feeling alienated. It's feeling like you don't belong in the group. That's, hey, here's who I am, but you don't agree with that, but you control the space. So therefore, I don't feel like I'm in this area. I'm not a part of the community in a way.
But are you going to adjust to be part of the community?
So that's the fourth thing I was thinking of, which is having options. Is like some people, they go all into one company or they all go all into one job or one way of life. And then they're like, why isn't this fulfilling me? And there's this one one profile on Instagram, and they had this really nice video, which is it was mostly like like the male perspective on women, which is that women, or this one example or hypothetical was this one woman who has many different friends, and they don't expect any one thing from any one person. So like they might, like if they want to go shopping, they go with this friend. If they want to go exercise, they go with this friend. If they have a boyfriend, they don't expect them to be the therapist, the one that goes to the movies.
Not everything.
Yeah. So
I think it's very healthy.
So kind of like somewhat related, that if you don't have enough options, or you don't have other things like a side hustle or small little things that really give you the passion in life that you want, then whatever you're currently with is defining who you are.
Well, do you have options or do you create options?
I build options.
Right. Like, so you put yourself out there to find the friend that wants to go shopping. You're in the moment and realize like who enjoys that same thing. And you have the friend that likes to go out to eat, or you have, this person. So in order to get there, right, you create those options by putting yourself out there. Yeah, I think that's very healthy.
Yeah. It's also the self-awareness of that everyone has multiple personalities. Like some people will be more introverted in a certain situation, more people will be extroverted in another situation. They'll want to do movies at this time, or they'll be more cynical in certain aspects. And it's like all those different personalities, but they're expecting it all from one place. It's like, hey, you need to be able to handle this personality and that personality and that personality. And I'm not talking about like multiple personality disorder. I'm talking about like the idea that like if I'm walking out in the forest, I like to do that by myself. I don't like if I see... What?
Walking out in the forest by yourself?
Well, I'm fine. I'm a dude. I'm fine.
Okay.
It's the forest. But if there's like it's a crowd of people, or like I like going in the mornings if I can. But if there's a crowd of people, like Algonquin Regional Park, it's a great park. The only problem is that like in the evenings, at least last time I went, in the evenings, there's all these kids from high school crew and everything, and they're rowing boats all over the place. And they're packing. There's like 30 people, and I'm like,
it's not peaceful.
This is not peaceful at all. It's the complete opposite of what I want. So like in those cases, I'll try to go somewhere else. I'll go walk somewhere else. Jiu-jitsu, that's more of like the socializing aspect. Like I'll be the stupid extrovert on the mats.
But see, I think that's part of it is you can be, and you said this, like the introvert and extrovert. We often talk about this in therapy, is like in that middle is that ambivert where you don't, I think people can take tests and assessments and they're like, this is me, that defines me. But really in cognitive behavioral therapy and cognitive flexibility, right?
Cognitive flexibility.
Yes, to get your mind to be like, yeah, I like to be this way, but I can be this way for a short period of time or for this amount of time.
But it doesn't.
Go ahead.
But it doesn't. That's not what you default to.
Right. So it's like an extrovert, right, can be an introvert or quiet it down to get something because there's a purpose, right? But then afterwards, it's like once they walk out, they're like, oh, okay, now I'm back to, they give themselves time to, again, rejuvenate, right? Like, and be themselves. And then an introvert can be like, oh, I don't like conversation. I don't like this. I don't like people. I can't tell you, but I can get it together because there's a purpose. I can go into work. I can go to a business lunch. I can go to network because there's a purpose and I'll do it. But then afterwards I feel exhausted. Like I need silence. I don't want to do anything. I just need that time to get it together again. Right. And I think that being flexible and self-care, now that part of, I'm going to go have fun because I've like been cooped up for this long, or I'm going to go and I'm going to just enjoy the quiet because I've had this part. That's self-care. That's self-awareness. You realize versus like, I'm an extrovert. I can't have this kind of job. Or I'm an introvert. I don't like people. I can't talk to people at all. That incorporates the absolutes. I think people get rid of the absolutes, right? More often. I'm not going to say completely. But then when you do use the absolutes, you catch yourself. You're like, really? Like never? Like, okay, not never, but
less often.
Yeah. Even if, think about the lottery. They're like, the chances of winning the lottery is like, what? I don't know if you know the statistics.
You have a better chance of getting struck by lightning.
How many times have we heard that somebody wins the lottery?
And then usually they don't manage their money very well and they lose all the money.
I don't know. There's a show for that. But, right? But again, that chance, right, is what at least gets me. I buy lottery tickets every once in a while. That gets me to be like, what if I'm that person, even if it's like 99.9? If you tell somebody 99.9, a positive person is going to be like, oh, I have a chance. A negative person is going to be like, forget it. What's the point? So it really depends on who you are and who you want to be. I mean, even positive, right? I said positive toxicity. Me being a bubbly person and being a therapist, right? I can honestly say there's times where I know I have to bring my energy. Well, I don't have to. It benefits me to bring my energy down, to lower my voice, to not be as animated when I talk and use my hands and just sit still and just listen, right? And then, but if you ask me, I mean, especially in private practice, I'm going to do that 8 hours? Heck no, because then I'd be working for someone else, right? So I'm going to mix it. And I think that's what it's like. I can be this person, but then I need that other person that's like, oh, tell me, that's going to feed off that bubbly personality too. And then I can be that quiet person again too. You know what I mean? So it's like really figuring out who you are and being okay with who you are. And you don't like your job. Yeah, I mean, change isn't easy for most people. Go look for another job, right? I mean, or you can sit there and complain about how the company sucks, the boss sucks, the people suck. It's easier to do that sometimes for people than to say, okay, I can't control life, can't control other people, but I can control myself. So when I get home, I'm going to like break down the, doing my resume into like 2 days, 3 days instead of the urgency of I'm trapped. I got to do it all in one day. And then once I do my resume, I'm going to like upload it. And then I'm going to like create a profile. And then I'm going to apply for a job I don't know how often, with the hopes that someone is going to like reach out to me and that's going to give me an option. And like you said, yes, once I have an option, then I might be a little bit more confident, come back and stick up for myself. Like, I don't want this. Or I'm going to be like, I'm out. But I think it just depends. And that's how come in being our own person and understanding what we want is so important. And that's where I think, honestly, therapy can be so powerful. It's not a quick fix. It's not not that I have anything against medication. I think medication's great. Honestly, it's support.
But it's not a solution.
But it's not a solution. But medication and therapy together, absolutely, because you have the support. It's giving your body what it needs. Now, the behavior part, the cognitive flexibility is like, I can actually follow through and maybe put some things into place and change my surroundings. And sometimes I kind of get rid of or end some friendships or relationships that aren't good for me because they're holding me back. Not that they're bad people. We're just not the same anymore. We've outgrown each other.
Tying back maybe a minute ago or so, does that tie into like emotional compensation?
What do you mean?
So
I like that word.
I don't remember the exact phrasing of it, but I think it was specifically about women, just because I'm trying to understand how women work.
See this trend of this, right? Women, men, women.
I just want to understand that it was specifically talking about women, but this also could apply to men, that if a woman finds a man attractive versus an unattractive man, she will do everything she can to be with that person because she finds him attractive. She wants to be
There's
with
a goal,
him.
There's a purpose.
There's a reason why. But then but if the unattractive, like this person could be distant, this person could be like not emotionally available, but she still wants to be with him. Whereas the unattractive guy is attracted to this woman, but she's not attracted to him. But in order to get her attention, he gives her emotional compensation in the form of expensive dates, or gives her gifts, flowers, does more to get her attention, and she's more willing to be with it, to like tolerate it in a way. Because now it could apply to men as well. Like, man finds a woman attractive, not a woman attractive, same thing could also happen. So when I saw it was because, hey, look, woman. But like the emotional compensation of, if I'm not very interested in this, I want something in return. I mean, it also could apply to jobs. Like you get a pay raise and you're like, oh, okay, I could tolerate this for another year.
Because what are you going to do with that extra money? You're going to use it there's a purpose for it, right? But if you're already comfortable or over comfortable and someone says, hey, I'll give you a raise, you're like, what am I going to, I don't need the raise. Like, no, I'm not going to stay.
It's like kind of like the podcast. I don't get paid for it for every single thing. Like sponsorships I do, but for the most part, everything's free. And now, did I put a lot of money into it? Absolutely. These things are not cheap. But at the same time, I do this because I love doing it, not because I want to make all the money right now. Eventually, yeah, I want to make sure I be able to sustain it. Yeah. But for right now, like, this gives me more purpose than the amount of money that I spend.
I think it's also working towards your vision, right? Like, you start off with certain things, and then you buy more better things, or you get more, podcasts out there, and you do that. And then eventually you put your energy into what you like. I mean, I say that now with myself. I tell, because people constantly say, like, I don't know how you do what you do. Like, you listen to people talk all day. I mean, that has to be heavy, right? And I'm like, no, not really. I mean, knowing the jobs that I've had and being in the environments that I have been, knowing that I can, and I think it's a mutual way, like a client can say, yes, it's a connection, like they want to work with me. And I also have said, I don't think this is a good fit. I don't think I can be helpful, right? I'm going to refer you, or I can give you some referrals or, to some other people, right? But that's the thing is I create that. I mean, I do like what I do because I got into a place that all the other things, whether it was income, I can't tell you how many people say, oh, psychology, you can't make any money with that. I mean,
they say that for everything.
Exactly. But you can, right? If you're creative. I mean, you can do anything. You can work for a company. You can work for, there's all different branches of it. You can work for, HR. You can work for the government. You can work for a nonprofit, right? But people that are working for nonprofits, I don't think they're working to get rich. I mean, you can teach, you can do, depending on what degree you have, right? You can do private practice. And I mean, at this point, you're like, well, I don't really have to ask anyone for off. I'm in charge of my schedule. And then I help people. It's rewarding. That's, something that's important to me. So yeah, for the most part. And I don't tell people what to do, right? So I guide them. And so their problems are their problems. We're like, I don't understand how you don't carry it over. It's not my stuff. It's like when they leave the door, that leaves with them. And then when I leave the door, and that's why I tell people grounding techniques, love them. I use them when I leave, right? I get in my car, I look outside. I'm like, oh, where's the sun? Like I feel like either the AC or so I kind of look at, okay, work is work. And like now I'm on my way to be home.
Grounding techniques like staying present or not thinking about the future or the past, just being, here's where I am.
Right. And then making sure, I mean, I tell my high schoolers, my middle schoolers I work with every time, and not elementary because she kind of stuck with, I think, 2 teachers or 1 primary teacher. But that's the thing is that when you leave one classroom and that was a bad test or that was, not a good relationship with the teacher, that can carry on to your next class, right? But if you look and when you're getting up, you see that door frame that you're walking out of, you're in the hallway, you're looking and you see other students. So you're like hearing people laugh, you go your senses, your sight, your sound, your touch, your smell, your taste, you take your water bottle or whatever you are, your snack, and then you look at yourself walking into another classroom, look at your teacher like that's a different person. Maybe you like people in that class, like you have classmates, then you kind of put it off and be like, oh that like morning sucked, but like my day got better. So it's so important to do that and leave negative. And again, not that you're forgetting, you're going to be back at that, not, the next day, but the other day based on schedules, I guess. So then you go back and you can just say that teacher sucks or that class sucks, or you come back and you're like, what was so bad about then? You failed a test. You can be like, oh, I'm never going to pass a test. Or you go and you're like, you know what, I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to see what I did, or I'm going to think back to like what I missed and I'm going to study it. And then maybe, and that's when you're putting the effort, where sometimes it's easier to blame other people and stay in the past versus like, what did I contribute to this and what can I change about it? And it just, again, it comes back to what we talk about, you can't control life and other people, just yourself.
Well, it's related to emotional association. If you associate, like kind of earlier we were talking about, if I associate one person with one feeling, then I'm always going to see that every single time I'm with them. But there's 8,400 seconds in the day?
My goodness, you're so like, you statistics and logic. I am going to go with that. I don't know.
I think it's 80. I keep seeing it on my feed, like 8,400 seconds in the day, but 60 seconds from one person is not going to ruin the rest of my day. It might ruin the next 10 minutes of my day, but it's not like I've got other stuff to do. I've given myself so many things I need to get done. It's like, does this really matter? Nah, this matters.
Absolutely. I mean, that might have mattered then, but how significant is it now? It's like me. I love the Peloton. Honestly, I do the Peloton. And then I try to tell, other people do it. They're like, I can't do it. I'm like, just do 15 minutes, like 15 minutes or 20 minutes, or I like more like 30 minutes for it. They're like, how can you do that? But literally, it's like you think about it and you think like you can sit there and scroll on your phone for 15 minutes. You can be stuck, or like 30 minutes or 45 minutes. But when you're there and you're exercising and you think of like, you stop focusing on like how hard it is or like, oh my gosh, and you realize like that is a natural mood enhancer, right? So I tell people they don't want to take medication. Some of my clients are like, I don't want to take any pills. And I'm like, well, exercise. Oh, I don't like to exercise. I'm like, well, you're taking the natural. You don't want to do the natural and you don't want to do that. But naturally exercise helps, right? Like it helps those neurotransmitters release those serotonin and dopamine. That's going to add mood clarity, just like
hope molecules, cortisol reduction,
exactly,
stuff like that. Yeah.
Right? So then you feel better. And then next thing you know, the 45 minutes isn't like, 45 minutes. It's like, I'm going to feel great, right? I know 15 minutes into my workout, literally, I think it's like 15, 20 minutes. First, I'm like, I'm kind of tired. And like 15, 20 minutes, I'm like, I can conquer the world. Like, I got this to do today. And it depends, right? Like your outlook on stuff. You can get fixed, you can fixate on something, or you can become flexible. And the thing is, flexible, you can bend, you can go back and forth. Fix, you just break.
Yeah. It's kind of like, there's two things. It's kind of like when people say you're straight as an arrow. Problem is an arrow doesn't go straight. It wobbles back and forth to get to where or rifles, when you shoot a bullet, it doesn't just go straight, it goes with a spin. Because that's how we'll get it further away. And then, of course, you have bullet drop and everything.
I don't know about any of that, but I'm going to say, yeah.
There's another thing, which is, I don't think it was a quote from anyone specifically, but it was just like a saying that if you think you need to meditate for 5 minutes, you probably shouldn't meditate for 20.
Tell me.
The idea that if you think you need something and you're like, I really need to meditate for 5 minutes, or I really need to do this, you probably need an additional like 4 times more than that. Because that's like, if you haven't, like, so yesterday was weird. I didn't get enough. I got like 6 hours of sleep and then woke up all groggy. I'm actually happy that I woke up properly today. Okay. Like the last couple of weeks.
I'm jealous. You got 6 hours and you're groggy. I'm happy with 6.
So I've been like chugging energy drinks the last couple of weeks and not enough water, which I get enough water, enough electrolytes, but I didn't like get pure water. So my body was like desperate for water. So over the last week, I've been dehydrated, but like bad hydration. So it's like even like, anyways.
Yeah, but so you woke up this morning.
Yesterday, didn't wake up the best, stupidly tired in the morning, had to do a bunch of back end work for the same company I was talking about earlier. And then 6 o'clock came around and I was like, going to go to sleep, or I'm going to do another hour over here. And I was like, I could probably leave early. So I asked, I'm going to leave early, went to jiu-jitsu at 6:30. I wasn't expecting, I was emotionally clocked out. Like I was like, ugh, I don't know what to do. And they were like, hey, you want to try this move? I was like, not yet. 7 o'clock goes around and everyone starts rolling, which is like just positional, so like sparring and everything.
Yeah, my son did jiu-jitsu. I watched a little bit.
So we start doing it, and the second I stopped thinking about everything else, I just started focusing on the rolls. Because I mean, obviously someone's attacking you. You're like, and I'm not like the aggressive type. I don't try to get on top or anything. I'm just like, I'll take whatever you're giving me. But after
of course, you take people's balloons.
Yeah, I'll just take the balloons. I'll throw it up. I'll put it in their face. I don't care. But same idea. It's like, I didn't know if I needed it. I just still went. I was like, okay, maybe I'll get like a 30-minute roll. Hour in, 8 o'clock goes around, rolling for an hour. I'm sweaty. Like my shirt is completely drenched. My pants are completely drenched because I'm sweating the heck out of myself, which is also why I'm slightly dehydrated today. I drank water beforehand, so that was good. But after that, I felt like I was on top of the world. Like
yes.
All the stress through the day.
That's your exercise.
Everything that I wanted, everything that I thought was bad. And like, yeah, I was still tired. I still knew I was fatigued, but I was so happy. I was going home. I was singing down the road. I hope no one heard me, but essentially it's like the same idea. It's like, I thought I was going to like roll for maybe 10, 20 minutes and ended up rolling for an hour.
But see, that's the thing is you had the hope, whether you realize it or not, I'm going to put out, you had the hope that, well, you experienced that you like jiu-jitsu, right? So like, oh, well, I'm just going to go for 30 minutes or I'm going to go for this. And then you end up enjoying it, right? And then that, when you said like you think you need 5 and then you end up you probably, and that's the other part, like need. So that's those cognitive behavioral therapy and those cognitive distortions or faulty thinking, whatever. I mean, they're used interchangeably, but usually, and anyone listening to you and you, I think I've said this before too, I'm not sure, but like should statements, usually catch yourself. I catch myself, but when people say so, need to, ought to, and must are indicative of should, right? So when you think like when you say like I should do this or they should do that, a lot of times it's going to have feelings of embarrassment, shame, guilt, frustration, some pressure. But if you turn around and you replace it with like, I want to do this or it will benefit me, forget want, because you might not want to go to jiu-jitsu, or you might want to because it's an enjoy and you'll benefit from it, right? And so you take that memory of like, oh, that time I thought I was just going to go for like 30 minutes and ended up being 2 hours. So that goes in your positive jar. And next time you're like, oh,
Positive
I'm so
association.
tired. Yeah, you're going to be like, but I'll go to jiu-jitsu. It's like, me and my pilot. It's like, certain things we start to build, and that's self-awareness, right? It's like, I feel like, I can't say for sure, but I feel like if I do this, it could help my mood. I could feel better. And that's, again, go away from the absolutes that if I do this every time, or this is going to be the solution, but you say, okay, if I do this, and then I follow it with this, another thing I like, and then like this, then you start to climb yourself out of being down, and then you go to sleep again because you're still tired, but you go to sleep in a better place and your body, and then you get that good sleep, like you get that deep sleep, and then you wake up feeling refreshed. And so you say, do I want to continue to have those days, or do I want to structure my day? And that's why structure is good. You're like, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to go to the gym, or I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to hang out with my friend. I'm going to do this. And again, you can't control other people or life, but to some degree, you schedule your day the way you'd like it to go, and you incorporate things that you enjoy, and it adds purpose and meaning. And we start off talking about happiness. You're more likely to be happy and at peace. So
3 things.
Sure.
Last one is something that you mentioned that we talked about before, but not today, the brainstorming. And so let me know if that third one is like, if something's wrong about the way that was structured. First one, going to what you were saying, wants and needs. I wanted 20 minutes. I needed 60. Wants and needs. Second thing is, I do agree with because I know that goes into my positive association with jiu-jitsu. I want to do that again. I would still have no expectation that I'll get it from that day.
say it again.
So if I have the association that, oh, jiu-jitsu will help me clear up my mind, will make me feel a little bit better about myself, I don't want to go in with the expectation that I will get that. I still go in the expectation of, I just want to be here and I want to show up. And if I get that, that's a good byproduct, but I don't want to expect it, not get it, and then be disappointed.
So you're trying to control the situation.
I'm trying to control my hope for something that I can't control, that I possibly couldn't control because I don't get exactly what I was looking for.
So then I think I go in there, so I usually feel better. I'm going to go jiu-jitsu and see how I feel.
Yeah.
Then that's kind of being in the moment, right? And that's why it's like, I'm going to go to work. Like, I want to have a good day. I'm going to do this stuff. And when I do this, it is a good day. I'm going to go to work and see how it is. And so there, it's like you add that, you close it off, and each experience, somewhat similar to what you were saying in the beginning with interactions with people. It's like, but I'm going to interact this time and see how it goes. And so if you keep doing that, right, and you're like, I'll see how it goes, it reduces anxiety. You're not looking forward to it.
Okay, so it's expectations, so I don't feel anxious.
Yes. Or, I mean, you accept things for what you give things. I'm not going to say you give things, situations, people to...
The possibility that it could go wrong.
It could go wrong.
Or
it could
not
go
the
right.
way I wanted it to go.
Right. But you show up. You're proud of yourself that you showed up to jiu-jitsu, right? You go in jiu-jitsu and then you actually let yourself feel sweaty. Like when you're sweating and you use your sense, you're looking at other people and you're like, oh, okay, maybe I will do that now. I'm ready now, right? And so when you release yourself to be present in that moment, 20 minutes turns into 60. I don't know that you didn't want 60. You were telling yourself you wanted 20, right? Your body might have been saying more than that. You were ignoring, but then you wanted 20, but you took 60, right? So maybe there's a chance, I would say, is there a chance that next time you're feeling like, right? That's not a word, but then you're like, I'm going to go to jiu-jitsu. because I'll see how I feel afterwards. And if you let go of those expectations, and that's the thing that holds us down, you let go of the expectations that I'm just going to walk in and see what happens, which is like so scary to tell somebody with anxiety, right? That's where medication helps. But then you build those positive experiences. You're not getting rid of the negative ones. It's just, I tell people, your mind, think of it as a file cabinet with files, right? You have negative, 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 because you're this, right? You're thinking if I open it, I'm going to get a negative one. But you have negative, negative, and then you start to do positive, negative, positive, positive, positive. There's a chance you're going to open it up and you just pick it up. It could pick up a negative or a positive one. So change is possible. People think they don't like change, but change provides opportunity. Change, it gives options. That's how come I think, like, just in general, us talking, right? Like, communication is helpful. Therapy does that. I mean, therapy lets you talk, lets you like be you and lets you figure out you. So when you leave the door, I talk like when my clients leave the door, like leave out of the office, usually, I'm going to say this, I don't know, he stands outside my office. Sometimes he sits outside. So most people, I think a lot of people are like, oh, okay, bye, see you. I mean, there's some that might not be happy, but even then, I think that's a positive thing because they're going to go in there and be like, it got them to think. So it's not always about being happy or hearing what you want. It's getting information that you didn't have and then being empowered that I can make a different choice. I can make the same choice or a different choice.
Yeah. Two things, and then I'm going to get to that third thing I was going to get to. There's like GABA receptors. I know those are definitely involved in the anxiety aspect to it. And I take these like supplements and they always calm me down. I'm like, this is such a nice thing to have. And then do you know the anterior midcingulate cortex? Okay, so that's cool too, but I don't know enough about that, so I don't want to talk about it. But it's a cool thing. It's the part of your brain, from what I understand properly, is the more you do the things that you enjoy, but the things that you said you weren't going to do, but you should, and the more times you do it, the easier it is to get it done.
So procrastination, right? That's a part. And I think this is the, and I see this a lot of times, right? Like you take the time to research, like or study or read like the different types of brain and what each functions, right? I think that's great because then you're like, oh, there is a part. And I think that's the hard part about therapy, right? Is that there is, and that's when you talk about evidence-based, there is, like, it's not just I'm going to say, I don't think that, but people come in like, I'm crazy or I'm this. It's not that. It's understanding that each part of our brain, it does play a part, right? So yes, procrastination isn't because you're lazy. It's literally because you've thought that this was difficult or you are avoiding it but when you open up and you do it, it's like, oh, it wasn't that bad, right? And then you're like, okay, well, it didn't take as long as I thought, or that's done this time and I can do it again. So it is really just shifting, right? So that's where we talk about the neurotransmitters, like sending signals and it's like it's constantly happening. So when people dismiss therapy, honestly, or say, but your mind controls everything, honestly.
And it's not they dismiss therapy, or they say they dismiss therapy, but it's usually just one therapist. It's like one person just didn't fit right with them. Or they didn't like have the tone of voice that they weren't like understanding. They were just more of like, here's therapy. We're just going to give you drugs and then you go on your way.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I think it could be an experience they had before, or it could also be just beliefs, right? Like, I can't tell you how many, I have a mom, I'll say like majority of times I have moms, but I do have dads I reach out to. I have a mom that's like, oh, I want my child to come to therapy, whatever. And I say, oh, I'd like to meet both of you just to get a sense. And then the dad's like, I mean, no offense, but therapy is like, whatever, I'll just pay for it. Because they don't really believe and they dismiss it. But then I will say a lot of times they come and we start to just have conversations and take out what's wrong. And then they're like, come in a couple, they're like, oh, it's not that bad. And then that's the goal of it is at least, I mean, in general for anyone that's not just by themselves, it is learning that it is okay to talk and not all conversations are going to turn into confrontations. And even confrontations don't have to lead into arguments, right? You can agree, you can learn to respectfully agree to disagree. And so you have more control, but if you feed into an argument, it is going to go. But if you stop yourself, right? Whether it's you say, I don't want to do this. I don't like being spoken to this way. I don't like feeling this way. Like I need to take a break or whatever, you're putting a stop to it.
I don't know if it was a study or just like or maybe it was just someone just talking about it, that naturally women tend to...
Here we go with the women again. But okay. I'm wondering what studies
So first
you're
of all,
looking
I don't
at.
think women can drive. That's a first thing. I don't think they know how to drive.
I'm a very good driver, actually. But go ahead.
That women tend to, like, therapy-wise, they do better talking to other people, whereas men do better, like, in groups of people trying to get something done. I think that was like more of like emotional intelligence, logical reasoning, that like men naturally are more logical creatures, women tend to be more emotional creatures.
I
and
agree.
That like the tendency of men trying to understand their emotional mind and women tend to know their logical mind. That's like the opposite of how they naturally go, and that's what builds them to a better person. So I know a lot of like logical women. I'm like, how are you so logical? And they're like, because I had to go through something, and now like this,
and they learned.
Yeah, but they're not like purely logical. It's just they've develop that part of them that's less natural.
And that's the thing, is I don't think anyone is purely anything, right? I mean, and even I have people that I work with that just want to learn how to experience emotions, right? Like, I don't understand how come somebody is like upset at this, or I don't know how you act.
Just don't know how to identify it.
Yeah. And so we work on like giving them context, right? And getting them to learn it. But yes, I mean, I can't tell you honestly how many times my male clients have tried not to cry. And if they do cry and I say, here's a tissue, they'll be like, for what? Like, because you're crying. I'm not. I'm like, no, you really are. I need to get
internally
a mirror.
Crying, yeah.
Right. No, they're externally crying.
Oh, externally, okay.
Yeah, and they're telling me they're not crying. So I'm like, I really need to get a mirror. I want to get a mirror for in here. So I'm like, actually, you are. But then after a while, it's just even that power of like taking the tissue, that's vulnerability, right? That's acknowledging like, this is not okay with me or with my body. So that first taking of that tissue is when that rapport happens. And it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to cry. And then eventually they don't cry because that's just been building up. But yes, I do have women too that come and I'm like, I don't want to cry. I said I wasn't going to cry. I'm like, look in the room. There's like tons of tissues. It's part of what therapy is you've been holding it together. And I just think as human beings, we all know for the most part how to hold it together. It's just some of our tolerances are different. And some have more resources and outlets than other people. And so there's not a one, they're like, people say like, how often should I come in? It's like, I don't know. It's like, let's look at what you want to accomplish. Yeah. Like, how often do you want to come in? Because at the end of the day, we want you to have a majority positive days than negative ones. I mean, I think, and if you're still coming to therapy and you're having more negative ones, something's not working.
I mean, it's the way you phrase it. It's, you have to want to come to therapy, not you should come to therapy.
Right.
So the thing I was going to get to a long time ago.
Sorry. We got sidetracked.
Long list. Self-awareness leads to identifying negative self-talk, which leads to positive reframing, which leads to motivation. Motivation leads, it kind of goes back to positive reframing, decreases guilt, creates a path of least resistance, then increases energy, and then you get the job done.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Okay. I just wanted to...
Yeah, I mean, it's cognitive. I mean, I think that's what cognitive behavioral therapy, right? It's like you look at the past and then you learn, that's self-awareness, right? And then you point out like those distortions of the faulty thinking, the negativity, right? And part of that is the internal talk, right? So when you talk about core self earlier, people are so harsh on themselves. Their self-talk is so negative. They would call themselves stupid or dumb or tell themselves to shut up. And I'll say, well, would you say that to someone else? They're like, no. I'm like, okay, so then how is that okay with you? And they're like, because it's me. But so that just goes to show you a lot of people, and I say everybody, how we treat ourselves, right? So when you start to, and then the rephrasing and the reframing, right? You look at it and you create options. And so, I mean, yes, actually I do believe, and that's how you know therapy works, or that's how you know you've made changes, not because I've told you as a therapist or like your therapist tells you to do it. It's because you're doing it and you see there's positive, right? And you have motivation. Like you have motivation to go to jiu-jitsu because you've had more positive experiences than maybe negative, right? So I think you adjust that and that's a cycle. Like therapy starts, and that's what I say when you do it. And that's how come I absolutely do really like the CBT and working with that. And you can incorporate other modalities. Yeah, but I think that it's not just I come in for a couple sessions and I'm done. It's really it's a way of life. It's just like our exercise and your nutrition, right? It's like a healthy restart. And then you build the habit, and then it starts off maybe as a habit, but then that's where the identity develops, and that just becomes you.
Is it habit identity or habit behavior identity?
That's a good question.
Identity seems more of a core thing, whereas like a behavior is something that you've repeated enough that's not routine, but it's consistent.
Yeah, that makes sense how you just said. I don't know. I mean, I think
I'm over-structuring it, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it could go either way. But I think that's part of it is your behavior is what you do. Yes, that's what you like. And it could create like your identity. It's like looking at who you are and then who you want to be, not who you need to be or who you should be, right? And you build that confidence to being like, it's just me, right? Can't tell you how many times someone asks me something and I say something, they're like, what? And I'm like, I mean, it just works for me, right? Like, it doesn't have to work for anybody else, but it just works for me. And then they can continue to rant on it and be like, I mean, I'm not asking anyone else to change. And I don't even have to share that if it's like something that's upsetting, right? But at the end of the day, you don't compare, which is really hard. It is, honestly. And you just say, that's just them and this is me. And sometimes, and that's the other thing, it's that I think you said something earlier. I don't know what we're talking about wanting to belong, right? Or being like
being a part of a community. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like you learn who you are and then you put yourself in communities, right? Where you do belong. You are the majority. And then there's times where you're not. And that's okay too. But you want to find more of like, sometimes I'm not and sometimes I am. But when you find yourself in the one all the time, it could be too much. So flexibility.
Right. Yeah, there was a quote that I saw before we started all this. I love quotes.
I see that. I like analogies.
I like them both. If you don't take time to heal, you'll be attracting the same problems in different forms.
Absolutely. I do. Absolutely. And heal again. I think all of this stuff, honestly, I think it's just different words and similar meanings, right? So heal, how do you heal if you don't get self-awareness? How do you heal if you don't do the work? And this is the thing, is like I'm saying you, but it's like, how do I heal if I don't do the work? How do I heal if I don't do self-awareness? How do I, and that's the thing is when you turn around, you use the I's and you take the accountability, then yes, the healing happens. But when people are like, you did this or he did this or she did this, you're not taking your accountability, right? And that's just fostering, that's building up anger and like resentment and keeping you in the past. Versus like I. And if I'm having, is that like you're doing now when I'm having conversations with people, I'm teaching them I statements versus you statements. And I start saying like, I feel this, I did this. And they start naturally, their head is like, right? Now, if I say you, people are like pushing away. And that's the power of language. That's the power of communication. That's the power of words, is it can bring us together and it could put us apart, right? So we want to work on what can I say that's going to make the conversation better?
Does that kind of tie in? What?
I thought I made you go for a loss of words.
No. I was thinking of one thing I have here, and then I was thinking, no, there's a better tangent to go off of. Would you say that you can't solve an emotional problem with a logical solution most of the time? Because a logical problem with a logical solution makes sense. An emotional problem with an emotional solution makes sense. But most of the time, an emotional problem with a logical solution is usually when, like, especially like men and women, it's like, here's an emotional problem, but I don't know it's an emotional problem. I think it's just a problem. It's like the guy's like, this is a logical solution. Here you go.
Here's the absolutes again, right? That this or this, where I think it's like both, right? It's like it benefits. See, I was going to use need and that's like should, and but it benefits people to look at both the emotion and logical. Because if someone's looking at the emotional, usually there's a reason to how come they're, and if someone's looking at the logical, well, maybe there's a reason how come there's not that emotion behind it. So you take two, it's like, what is it? Oil and water, right? They're not, to some things they work together well. They help you make stuff with other combinations, right? If you're making brownies, oil and water together, great. Try to have one and the other. Your brownies are not going to turn out very good. They'll turn out, but not good. So I'm such a big believer on trying to get away from absolutes, right? And the one or on like either this or that, and say there might be a little bit of emotions and more logic, right? When you tell someone you should think of it logically versus or like you should do this, and you go to someone and say, look, it'll benefit the situation. It'll benefit if we do this, this, or this versus like you should just do this. Someone that has emotions is not going to be open to like, I mean, obviously if they're happy, they're like, sure. And there's trust. I'm like, okay, because they're going to let you guide them because they trust you. But if it's somebody that's negative experience, they're going to be hesitant. They're going to be vulnerable. They're going to be guarded. But if someone comes to me, I don't know about you, and it's like, hey, probably would benefit to do this and this and this, there's a strong likelihood that I'm going to say, tell me more. Like, really? Like, let's talk about it. But you come to me and tell me, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this. I'm like, oh, you think you know everything. Okay. I mean, I wouldn't say that, but my body language, I'm like, okay. And I'm going to dismiss it.
Kind of three things at the same time. One that's like assumptions, assuming that you know what they're feeling before. I mean, if you've known the person for like 20 years, absolutely. Like I know my sister, but if she texts something and I'm like, you're not happy, I'm going to call you. Right. And she doesn't, she's like, her texting isn't anything specific like what she's feeling, but it's like, hey, here's something. I'm like, the way you're texting this, are you all right? And I give her a call. Another thing, it's not the best analogy, but like Schrodinger's cat. It's like until you understand it and until you know enough evidence to make a good action on it, it's both in the state of being understood and not understood.
Tell me more.
So like Schrodinger's cat, when you have the poison in the box and you don't know the cat's dead or alive until you've observed it. Right. Same idea. You don't know if you understand the situation until you know what they're saying, what they're talking about. You don't know.
You understand it. Yeah, or understand them, or he taught. And then again, that comes back to communication, right? And then we talked about CUT, that goes into mind reading. So you totally, and this happens with families, with couples all the time, with kids and their parents, with anything. It's like, I already know. I've been going through this a year. I've been married to this person for, but again, if you approach it the same way, probably you'll get the same result. If you change the way, even a word, even your tone of voice, maybe, and these are the techniques that you learn, you approach it different, you might get a different reaction. I mean, again, it's that percentage, right? I'm like, I know 99% or whatever. Can't really say 100 because nothing is 100%, right? I mean, for the most part. So you're like, even if it's 99.9%, it's how bad, how motivated are you to change it? Because you'll take that little percent that's left, right? But if you're not motivated, then no, you're going to continue to do what you do. So your sister texts you in a certain way, again, and you're like, are you all right? I wonder if you responded back and like, interesting. Usually when I read this word or like, I don't know what, you read this word or like these words, that makes me like concerned or worried, or that makes me like want to talk to you. I'm going to call you. Because again, if you say, are you all right? And she's open with you and she trusts you, she'll be like, no, actually I'm not, or I don't know. But a lot of times that's vulnerability and someone will be like, I'm fine. It's good.
Yeah.
It's nothing.
Typically, I'm not, the first word that's coming to mind, analytical. I'm not that analytical when I look at someone's way of writing. It's more of, here's all the other times. And I know that of course it's text, but it could be tone of voice. Your tone of voice has always been like this when you're genuinely honest about something. But here's something that's different. I don't text my sister back and say, are you feeling all right? I just call her. I don't like straight line, hey, this doesn't look right. And one time she stated that. She was like, how did you see that? I didn't even know I was in that state. I was like, I know, you're my sister.
But see, that's the thing is you said that word, I think different. That's what is sent that's what cued you to say, wait, and caught your attention is you noticed the difference, whatever the difference was, whatever it was a word or whether it was the length of the text or whatever it was, the different made you catch the attention. So I would say, I mean, you can definitely tell someone, ask them, are they all right? But you call them like, hey, I just called because that was a little different. Sometimes that's just an opening, like for someone to be like, oh, you noticed, and then start talking.
Yeah. There's also the other problem, which is if I don't know the person very well, but I've seen it 1,000 other times, I
generalize.
I default to assuming that they are like everyone else.
That's generalization, yes, with CBT. Yeah.
And that's like when I have to shut it down and be like, that's not possible, that this is exactly the same way I've always seen it. It could be, but I haven't established it yet.
So then you take that, again, it's that absolute, like, that's not possible, that it's unlikely because they're a different person. This is a different situation. It's similar in a lot of ways, but the factors that are different is like, even if it's like the time of day or like whatever, I mean, it's just finding what and realizing that nothing, I mean, really, it's really hard for things to be identical or the same. It could be similar. So then you could look and you're like, oh, I'm reacting this way because it's similar. It reminds me of this situation. And then when you get there and be like, okay, but that situation is not this situation because that was back in whatever the day was. And today's a whole different day.
There's also a third thing, their feelings, my feelings, or their feelings, other people's feelings, and then my feelings of me projecting what I want to them. It's like, oh, I'm scared today, or I'm nervous today, or I'm like under the weather today. You must be under the weather too, right? So it's like I also am receptive to those sort of things. So I also have to shut that down. It's like, it's not about me, it's about them.
Well, and I think it's that piece is like, that's the should statements. Like, I feel like this, they should be, or I think this, they, have to be feeling this way too. And that's where part of the shoulds is, yes, the negative feeling, but it's also putting your values and beliefs on other people. Like, you should go do this. Now, if I tell my kids who are teenagers, they should make their bed every day, I mean, they'll do it because I asked them. But for them, and even for me when I was younger, it's like, well, why? I'm going to get right back in it, right? For me as an adult, I'm like, because then at the end of the day, when you come in and you want to go to bed, you pull the sheets back and it's nice. And yeah, but that's years and that's like, experience. And
it's a tiny little things.
Yeah. But it's those things where you learn and you're like, but it's an end to my day, right? So I'm going to pull the sheets back, fresh bed, get in. That's my restful. I'm not going to take that out into there. I wake up, you tell somebody else, like, no, I like it like that, right? So I think that's the shoulds versus like, it would probably benefit you, or I think it would feel so good to be able to pull. And then it's the follow through when they do it. It's like, how does it feel? Like, yeah, actually, I'm not like have other things, like kicking other things out the bed. And that's a whole part of like what we see. So you come in and see a fresh bed, you're like, and that's how come if you see, Instagram stuff and TikTok stuff about like your room, there's all these things like your room represents, like your house represents your mind, or your room represents your mind. If your room is cluttered with stuff, then your mind is cluttered because you're jumping from things to things, versus you create organization. You're like, oh, I know where this is, right? Which is in your mind. It's like, oh, I know what this option is. I know what this option is.
That's actually something that was like the first rule of Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life, is clean your room. There's also Milhai Csikszentmihalyi, Russian guy.
Do a lot of reading.
He did the flow state stuff. So one of the things, not him, but Rian Doris, who has I think he used to be a part of the company, they talked about is, in order to get into flow state, you have to clear everything in your peripheral vision because all those tiny little things are sapping at your attention span. And then also going to what you were talking about, beds, is like when you go to a hotel, it's really hard to get those sheets off the bed. But the second you get in that bed, it's really, really soft.
And then imagine staying in that room and they don't come clean it.
Yeah. Oh.
Right?
Oh,
Don't
you're
you
like,
mad?
what's the point of going to this hotel?
Exactly.
Yeah. On like a tangent on that, it's like I wear the same thing every day just because I know if I wear the same thing every day and I'm happy with the way I wore it. Like, it took me 3 days to find this shirt on Amazon. Now that I found it, I'm like, I wear it the same day. I do the same things in the day. The last thing I'm worried about is what I look like. And it's like, it's the same idea. It's like, well, I don't make my bed, but when I do, when I wear the same thing, it's like the tiny little things. I'm not worried about how I look, how I feel in these clothes. I know this works, and it's worked for the last year, and I'm perfectly happy with that. And also, it's not too ugly, maybe like too much blue, but it's also, I'm happy with it. It also goes to the 60-30-10 rule in like cinematography, 60% one color, 30% another, 10% an accent color. So you got 60% blue, 10% black, 30% brown.
You like to make sense of
I know,
a
it's
lot
great.
of stuff. People, I mean, that's in general. And I'm going to tell you, and I tell everybody else, is that it works great when it works, right? But that's the part of life. And that's not so much other people, but life. When it throws something your way that you didn't see coming, right? Like an illness, a loss, a tragedy. It's like there's that part of you that can go spinning and be like, but why? I did all of this and this and this. Like, how come? And that's where it goes back to people wanting to, like, I want to know. Like, tell me who's at fault. Like, tell me why this did, who was like negligent in doing this. But sometimes, I mean, there's maybe some part of it, and sometimes it's nature. Sometimes it's just life. And it does suck for that moment.
There's one person that I really like, but logically, I know I have to let go of her. Emotionally, I want to hold on. And it's like the impermanence of that. Like, I can't get both, or I can't solve both. Like, I can't be like, emotionally and logically, I want to keep her, or emotionally and logically, I have to let go. But I just have to, like, that's just how it is. It's like there's
I don't know how come you feel like you have to let go.
Well, because it's like she's
versus
not. She's not for me. I know she's not for me. Like, that's a different part of my life. But like emotionally, she was like the best person I've ever met. Kind of going on like she's not dead or anything, but like on that part, it's like logically it's one thing, emotionally it's another thing. It's like just at some point you have to be like, that's just how it is, or for peace of mind.
Well, the thing is, it's like letting go piece versus, I mean, when you say let it go versus like, it's not for me who I am now, or it doesn't match up with my goal. Like being with her, I wonder if it aligns with my goals or my values, right? There's some part of us align, but in general, when you have a vision, right? It's like you incorporate I tell people this, like people look for relationships to be happy, right? But if you spend the time instead of getting into a rebound relationship or just getting into a relationship, which I get it, I understand everybody wants to be lonely, but it's so much harder to do stuff by yourself. And I'm not saying forever, but go out to eat by yourself, go to the movies by yourself. Like
actually something Rod said on his podcast, date yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You date yourself to
know what you like.
Yeah, to know what you like and be happy with it, right? And then you meet somebody else. And when you meet them, you're not just picking like, where do you want to eat? Oh, wherever you want to go. You pick. It's like, well, I really like this. Like, let's try this, like my place one time and then your place. And I mean, honestly, on a menu, you can find something. It does not have to be the best in this absolute, the best meal of your life. You don't have to leave completely full, leave that date or leave that meal and go have a snack. But that's the thing. You take the absolute out and you meet somebody that's like maybe flexible. You learn something new and then that attraction happens, right? You're happy and you meet somebody else that's pretty happy, right? I'm not going to say they don't have baggage or issues. We all do, right? But that's not weighing them down. Then you're in a healthy relationship, right? But if you're happy and then you meet somebody that's not happy or has baggage, then there's a part they're going to look at you to solve their problem, or you're going to, like, whether you're attracted to them or something, you're going to want to help them. Because the other piece is like you meet somebody, you're like, you're a really nice person. Like, I think we connect in so many ways, but you need to take care of that first. Like, I just can't do that right now, right? I don't want to be in this kind of relationship. I don't want to be where there's still an open to your ex versus I have trust issues. No, I mean, when there's closure, then you kind of move on.
Have you ever seen Kung Fu Panda?
Yes.
Movie? Okay.
I like it.
Do you remember the one scene where Po was asking his father what the special ingredient in his soup is? And he said, nothing. There's nothing, no special ingredients. It's not the soup it's not about the soup, but the fact that you think it's special.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, think about when you're like, I say this a lot when I say, I'm like, this is the best thing ever. I'm like, I don't know if it's the best or I'm just really hungry, right? Or if it's like the best, like for him, or like if somebody that you care about makes something, like your mom, your grandma, somebody makes something, you're like, my mom makes it the best. Well, there's an emotional connection to it because maybe when you had it, it was tasted so good, right? And you ask for measurements and be like, well, how much do you put in this? And someone's like, I don't know. I just like dab a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Tell somebody that needs structure, dab a little bit of this and a little bit of that. It's not. Now, if somebody that's really observant, they're going to be like, okay, it was a pinch. It was like 2 pinches. But it is. It's your mindset. And I think you had said that. There's this little image, poster, whatever. It has a little fish, like a little goldfish. I can't
Finding
imagine you
Nemo?
haven't seen. No, I know Finding Nemo.
Finding
But
Nemo.
it's
It sounds like Finding Nemo.
but it's like mindset is everything, or it's like, but it's just like this little fish in this big like body of water, right? And it doesn't matter how little or big someone is or something is in a situation, it's your mindset. It's not that, and I got this doesn't mean that it's going to be okay. It's just that it's not that catastrophic. It's not going to be the worst thing ever. Like, I'm going to get through it. It's not a forever thing. So it's not like it's not going to be uncomfortable. Like, yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable, but it's not like navigate through it. Don't avoid it. I mean, you fall down. Okay, fall down, sit down for a minute if you have to. But then you start to think, how am I going to get up?
You know, like AI generation
Yes.
images and everything? Okay,
Yes.
cool. So there was this...
I mean, I'm not into it a lot, but
you know of it, yeah.
yes.
Okay, you're not that kind of 40-something-year-old. It's like, what?
No.
What's AI?
No.
So there was this one thing a while ago. It was someone prompted ChatGPT to create an image that showed a $1 pancake, a $10 pancake, a $100 pancake, a $1 million pancake. And it's like, it goes from like one pancake to like a stack of pancakes to like gold leafed pancakes with like all these like with caviar and then you have it like in space and like $1 billion pancake and like they're out in outer space. You can see the sun. There's like pancakes everywhere. Then like the spaceship itself is probably a pancake, right? You have
It's like everything.
Yeah. The nice part of it was they asked make a priceless pancake, and it was a mother making a pancake for the son.
It's not the size. It's not the color. It's the connection to it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That was where I was going with that.
Yeah. Going back to like you doing your podcast, right? And just it's happiness. Happiness can be different for each of us, right? And pursuing that, I guess if there's something you really want to do, it's not, I have to do it. It's what makes this important to me. And if you're not doing it, it's like, how come? Like, how come? Whether it's procrastination, whether it's fear about being disappointed, whether it's anxiety about it not working out, and being able to know that it can go either way. But what can you do personally to kind of push it more towards the direction that you want? Because at the end of the day, if it doesn't work and it was your efforts, right? And I say this and they're probably, at least you can say, I tried versus the I should have, I could have, I didn't, the guilt, the regrets, right? You have less regrets now. And if you become really, what's the word? I don't want to, I'm not saying strong, like can't, but if you become resilient, right? It's about building. You become resilient. You say, okay, when I did it that way, it didn't work, but I still want it. So I'm going to go tweak it and I'm going to do it this way and see if there's a chance that yes, you're going to see something different. And that is going to create motivation. And so really life is about possibilities. I mean, you can look at it like that. Some people are like, well, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what my journey is. It's like, well, what do you want it to be? Right? And it's letting go, whether it's your parents, whether it's society, whether it's culture, letting go of, to some degree, in a respectful way, right? I'm going to say that. It's in being able to figure out who you are. As you said, Roderick said, date yourself, meet yourself. If you know date, like meet yourself and know, so that you go into a conversation knowing what you like, knowing what you don't like, knowing what you're willing to try, knowing what you're not willing to try, and be honest, right? Because you can lie and fool a lot of people, but you can't lie to yourself. That's when you start to have insomnia.
You can, but you're not going to be very happy about it.
Yeah, I mean, your body, you're not going to sleep, your appetite's going to change, all those little symptoms of depression, anxiety kick in, right? Because you can't lie to your body. So, in general, yeah, I'm just going to say, follow your dreams. That's why my sign, well, you can't see it, but my sign says, live your dream.
So the title, so I have on my website, I have my research page, and like where I put everything, like all the research I do and like all the different studies I like to look at. The main title of that is Life is What You Make of It. Because that's what it is. All this research, all this stuff is like just understanding why. And then it's like, life is just what you make of it.
That's
how much time do you have? I don't want to.
1 o'clock. No, but you can
okay.
go. But just to go off of your page, and that's how come when I started doing therapy and I was trying to figure out like a name, because I'm not good with that, but it's really embracing change, right? Because life is change and you just embrace it. You learn how to embrace it and you make it what it is. Like you make it where you want from what's given. So Yes, I know time flies by so fast.
No, I know, but I have more questions. Like more things.
But maybe we'll come back again
I sure hope so.
if people like this.
And
we'll see.
I don't get a lot of views on episodes, especially since I haven't really posted anything the last couple of weeks, just because I've been busy. But no, it's probably in my top 5 favorite episods. And I haven't even edited it yet. I haven't even edited it yet, but I like, this is definitely.
Do I get to see the edited version?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, after. Oh, nice.
I have more questions, but I don't want to waste your time.
You're not wasting my time. If I didn't have other things to do, I would definitely say it was actually pretty fun. I don't do these things, so I honestly think it's great that, again, you look at people, and that's the thing we talked about, comfort, right, as we end it, is like, and I told you I really don't do these things, but it was, and I think meeting people, right, because when I met you, I think anyone that knows me was like, what, you're doing a podcast? But I think it's you meet people and then you see, right, and this is me, therapist, and I tell my clients all the time, you see the opportunity, you see the potential in people, and if it's something, obviously you feel like you can invest in or you want to, and obviously I'm helping, like, that's what my job is, right? It's like, okay, well, do I step outside my comfort zone to do it, and do I challenge myself? You could, and I did, so we'll be back again.
No, this is great. I also want to give it a little bit of time just so, like, I don't refresh the same things I already have in my mind. I have 2 questions I ask everyone at the very end. Who do you want to be 10 years from now, and what would you have told yourself 20 years ago?
Who do I want to be? So you might have to repeat it again to me because my short-term memory. So who do I want to be 10 years from now? It's a good question. I want to be alive. I don't know. I want to be alive 10 years from now. And I don't know. I kind of like who I am. So I don't know that. Yeah, I just want to be a 10-year older version of myself. I want to be healthy. I can say that. That's important to me. I want to be healthy. And I want to be healthy. I say alive. I can't control that. But I want to be healthy and I want to be present. That's what I want to be.
Okay. And what would you have told yourself 20 years ago?
You did everything right. I mean, you did whatever I did. What would I have told myself 20 years ago? What would I tell myself looking back at myself 20 years ago?
If 26-year-old self was sitting right here, what would you want to tell her?
Just live your life.
Okay.
Just live your life.
So you didn't like have like a rough like 20s or something? Okay.
I mean, I don't know if it was rough 20s. I definitely made some decisions that were questionable, right? And I did go through some stuff because of the decisions I made. But then at the end of the day, like I said, I'm pretty content with where I am at. And I don't think that, I don't regret anything. I guess I'd put it that way. You know, I think a lot of times, like some of the things that I said a couple times I have kids, sometimes I get worked up, as all parents do, about worrying about certain stuff. And I think back and I'm like, and I don't tell them to a degree, but I'm like, I did way worse. Like, what? Like, there was no Life 360. Like, I could have, like, I was everywhere. Like, and it was fine, right? Like, so I think part of it is I think what can be seen as mistakes kind of led me to be where I am today. So I tell myself, like, keep doing you, girl. And that's what I would tell myself. Keep doing you, girl. Don't let people tell you what's wrong or right.
Yeah. Cool. Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. This was fun.
I know. Only took a couple months.
Hey, busy schedules
I know,
between both
and
of
that's
us.
fine with me.